Okay, so this question is asking us to find the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. So we need to have a couple key concepts understood here. When you're looking for vertical asymptotes, VA, you're going to look at the leftover denominator, and whatever is left over in the denominator, you set that equal to 0, and that gives you your vertical asymptotes. For horizontal asymptotes, I always think about that little h as highest power. So the horizontal asymptote is going to be your highest power. And what will happen is if your denominator wins, then that means that you have a really big number in the denominator. So just think about this from the last section. When we have a really big number in the denominator, that is going to 0. So when the denominator wins, our horizontal asymptote will be y is equal to 0. Now, when there is a tie, when the highest power in numerator and denominator are the same, then what will happen is all of the trailing terms aren't going to really affect the horizontal asymptote. So if you have like 2x cubed plus 2x over 5x cubed plus, let's say, 5, this little 2x and 5 aren't going to matter. And what's going to matter is really that highest or leading coefficient over the leading coefficient. Now, if you have that the numerator wins, then what that means is you just have a really big number. And that number that's big is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so there's not going to be any flattening out of the graph. So when that happens, when the numerator wins, I always think about the little n in numerator and n and no, because we're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger forever. Okay? All right, so the whole vertical and horizontal asymptotes, this is assuming that you have a rational function. And a rational function looks like one fraction. So it looks like a polynomial over a polynomial. So in order to use what we know about vertical and horizontal, we need to make sure that our function is a polynomial over a polynomial. Now, when you look at the question given in 271, you're looking at x minus 9 over x, and that's not a polynomial over a polynomial. That's x minus polynomial over. So what you want to do first is get a common denominator. So you would rewrite this as let me multiply by x over x so that this first term has an x common denominator. So this will become x squared minus 9 over x. And now once I have that, then I will have a polynomial over a polynomial, and I can go and find my vertical and horizontal asymptotes. So for vertical asymptotes, I notice that this x in the denominator is never going to cancel out. So the leftover denominator, if that's set equal to 0, that will give us our vertical asymptote. So in this case, our leftover denominator is just x, set that equal to 0, that is our vertical asymptote. Now, for the horizontal asymptote, that is where we compare the highest power. So the highest power that we have in the numerator is x squared, and I always like to kind of circle it. So this is our x squared highest power, and in the denominator, the highest power is x to the first. So we're asking ourselves who wins here. So the numerator is winning because the numerator has the highest power. So the numerator wins. And that means we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as we go out to plus or minus infinity. So there is no flattening out of the graph that's happening here. So we would say that there is no horizontal asymptote. Okay, so our conclusion for number 71 is that we have a vertical asymptote at x is equal to 0, and we have no horizontal asymptote.